No, I'm not going to be rapping for this, okay? Anyway, so this is a video to help you with mapping Casey at the Bat, okay? So what I'm going to show you is how to map the Music Review Monday song, A Poem on the Underground Wall, okay? First of all, I just want to point out you have two options here. I understand that option one, beginning, middle, end, looks easier than option two. Both of them are totally 100% viable and good for you to do. Okay? I understand that beginning, middle, and end seems easier, but the real difference here is that we have a breakdown of 3 parts instead of a breakdown of 6 parts. You're basically doing the same thing in both. So you should really do what serves you. If you think it's easier to break it down into more parts, that's fine. If you remember during when we did the essay about like Ponyboy's development, some of you wanted to do more paragraphs because it's easier sometimes to break things into more parts. So it's totally up to you. Bottom line is this is what you're going to have to do, either option one or option two. And we're going to do it with a poem on the underground. I'm sorry, you're going to do it with Casey at the Bat, but I'm going to show you with a poem on the underground wall. So to start, first I want to talk about this poem a little bit. Some people had difficulty seeing exactly what it was about. Most of you understood where it was happening and all that kind of stuff, and you got some ideas about kind of what was going on. But very simply, this song is about a guy who's in an empty train station or an empty subway station, like at night, and he waits for the last train to go, and then he writes some graffiti on the wall, like he tags the wall, and then he runs out. Okay, so if you look at this, beginning, middle, and end, a man stands in an empty subway at night with a crayon waiting to do graffiti. And I know you might think it's whack to do graffiti with a crayon, but whatever. Then in the middle, the last train shows up and leaves. The man gathers up his nerve, runs out of the shadows, and does the graffiti. And in the end, his heart is pounding because he's so excited by what he's done. And we see it here, right? The last train is nearly due. The underground is closing soon. In the dark, deserted station, restless in anticipation, a man waits in the shadows, so he's waiting to do it. His restless eyes leap and scratch at all that they can touch or catch, and hidden deep within his pocket, safe within his silent socket, he holds that colored crayon, right? So at the beginning, that's what he's doing. He is just standing in an empty subway station with the crayon, waiting for everyone to leave. There's nobody there. He's waiting for that last train to come and go. Now, from the tunnel's stony womb, the carriage rides to meet the groom, right? So that last train comes and opens wide with welcome doors, but he hesitates. He doesn't get on, and then he withdraws deeper in the shadow. And the train is gone suddenly, on wheels clicking silently, like a gently tapping litany, and he holds his crayon rosary tighter in his hand. So he holds onto that crayon like it's a rosary, right? Like a lot of people cherish their rosary, so he holds on tight. So here it is in the middle. The last train shows up and leaves. The man gathers his nerves, runs out of the shadow, and does the graffiti. And we see that right here. Now from his pocket quick he flashes, the crayon upon the wall he slashes, deep upon the advertising, a single worded poem comprised of 4 letters. So he runs up and he does it. Then at the end, his heart is laughing, screaming, pounding, the poem across the tracks rebounding, shadowed by the exit light, his legs take their ascending flight, to seek the breast of darkness and be suckled by the night. So he runs out, and here it is. His heart is pounding because he's so excited by what he's done, and he runs out of the subway into the night. So there it is, beginning, middle, and end. Guy wants to do graffiti. He waits until that last train leaves, gathers his nerve, runs out and does it. Then, in the end, his heart's pounding, he's so excited, and he runs out of the subway. Now, we can break that up into more parts right here. Exposition, man is in an empty subway late at night and he feels the need to write graffiti. Rising action is he's looking around holding the crayon in his pocket. The train shows up, he almost gets on, but he doesn't, and he dips back in the shadows. Then that turning point, and this is what I think, some people might disagree, is that the train leaves and he's finally completely alone. So now he can do it. That falling action, remember falling action is still action, he runs up to the wall and scrawls the word on it. He does graffiti. And then the resolution, right? His conflict is kind of resolved because he wanted to do graffiti and now he's done it. So his heart is pounding and he's filled with excitement because he's finally done it and he runs out of the subway. And then the denouement, how is it all at the end? Well, he's alone in the night and the subway is entirely empty. Notice something there's not much difference here between one and the other, right? Like, yeah, I understand it's 3 versus 6, but it's still basically saying the same thing. Okay? So, back to what you have to do today. You're going to read and watch Casey at the Bat in order to practice this with a different poem. Okay, and Casey at the Bat is different. It's about sports, which is kind of nice, and it's about baseball in particular. And you'll see it's actually just about that last inning of a baseball game, kind of the most exciting part of a baseball game, and that's kind of the beauty of this type of poetry or this type of story, because you don't have to tell a huge story. You can tell a very short story, just like this poem on the Underground Wall is a very short story as well. Okay, so I just wanted to show you this example, and there you go.